Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In my last video on school refusal, I promised you two videos. The first one is setting tech rules, and the second one is what we're talking about today, 20 easy and healthy coping skills for your teenager. So if you're a parent of a teenager, you've probably seen it firsthand when your teenager comes home from a tough day at school, head up to their room, pick up their phone, and start scrolling all evening. For another parent, maybe your adolescent child doesn't feel motivated to do anything, so they sit up in their room and watch videos, to pass time. For another family, maybe your teenage son did bad on a test, so he heads up to his gaming console, and immerses himself for hours. Another family, maybe your teenage daughter was left out of a group event, so she spends the entire night, scrolling social media to see what everyone else, is doing without her. As adults, we manage stress and anxiety each day, and sometimes we scoff at our teenagers, who complain that their life is so hard. And I've always preached empathy, but being a teenager in today's world can be very taxing. Not only are they dealing with the typical growing pains of adolescence, such as rapid physical changes, brain development, hormonal fluctuations, peer pressure, and the other issues, but today's teenagers are faced with relentless academic pressure, social media, technology distractions, widespread violence, political volatility, and for many, economic instability. A 2020 study from Harvard on, the effect of too much gaming among young men determined that while playing video games can be a fun pastime and there are some potential benefits, there are significant health risks, associated with too much gaming. I'm going to make a separate video, for that, on gaming. But I just wanted to, throw it in because, our young people immerse themselves, into gaming a lot, into scrolling. These studies, also, affirm what we already know. Adolescents need more support to understand how to manage, and mitigate their stress, their anxiety, and depressive thoughts. And that's what we're talking about today. What are coping skills for teenagers? So coping, is the ability to manage stress, and navigate life challenges effectively. Coping skills are the deliberate thoughts, and behaviors we employ to handle stressful situations and negative outcome. It's important, to underscore that we are not born to cope with life challenges. While some people seem to be able to roll with the punches easier than others, coping skills are often something we learn and must apply with conscious, actions. Also, coping, is different than, defense mechanisms or reactionary behavior. For example, if you are in a challenging relationship, a defense mechanism might be always agreeing with the difficult person to avoid confrontations. A coping skills will be setting a boundary to limit your time with that person. Do you understand? So many mental health therapists, encourage positive coping behaviors to help manage, negative emotions, without, escalating the situation, in order to mitigate stress and reduce anxious thoughts. So what are the roles? What roles do parents have in developing healthy coping skills for teenagers? I would say when it comes to stress management, we often mirror what we see. That means our response to stress as parents and how we deal with it often, stems from our caregivers, our relatives, our teachers, and others, in our social, circle. I can attest to it. Growing up, when my mom was stressed, it often manifested itself in, quietness, not necessarily anger. She used to work, so when she comes back from work, she just wants her quiet time. it's important to know that, and know how you manage your stress as a parent now, and link it to how your parents manage stress. Sure enough, when your kids hit the teenage years, I often found myself acting the same way even as an adult. So it's important to look back at that. So when someone feels painful, uncomfortable, or overwhelming, teenagers, and their parents need healthy coping, mechanisms to get through it. Too often we turn to things that numb our feelings, risky behaviors for a temporary high, or destructive choices that distract us from the emotions. Some of these unhealthy habits may include maybe social media, technology overuse, avoidance, which in your teenagers' instance is distancing themselves from others, substance abuse, misdirected anger. This may come off as disrespectful behavior, smacking remarks, or just slamming the door. Some teenagers go as far as self-harming, shoplifting, eating disorder, and the list goes on and on. And that's why this topic was important, because in the last video we're talking about school avoidance and the things that can cause children to want to avoid school. So the next part is, how do we instill these coping mechanisms in coping skills in our teenagers? So coping skills are essential tools that help individuals handle stress and anxiety more effectively. For teenagers, developing these skills can help build emotional resilience, self-esteem, and overall mental well-being. It can also reduce the chance of teenage anxiety and depression. Parents play an important role in modeling coping skills for their children. But what can you do when your teen only wants to spend time in their room, and they claim, they just want to, it's a form of you say it's a form of self-care, which we understand. I was talking to a parent coach like me, and she says you can't force a teenager out of their room, not without damaging the relationship, but you can invite them into a space worth entering, a space with warmth, laughter, authenticity, curiosity, and calm, a space that welcomes who they are, and the stage they are in. So this is their kind of language. When we understand the age, we can better engage. Scrolling is easy. Coping takes practice, and their habit starts with us modeling what we wish to see. So this extends beyond emotional regulation and into using tools, appropriately, proactively, protecting, and preparing teenagers for the world they are stepping into. Presence, purpose, play, all this. When we stop trying to fix our teenagers and start connecting with them, they begin to remember who they are beyond the screen. And then she I've read, and times without number, and I've seen it that I recommend parents to consider the following while trying to encourage their teenagers to adopt these coping skills. So before you try to change your teen's behavior, check in with your own energy. What are they walking into? Instead of asking, how do I get them to open up? Try asking, when I speak, would I want to listen to me? Check yourself first. A safe, steady mentor can support boys in navigating their development stage, of becoming a young man. This week, notice when you're reading, and pause. Presence, not perfection. Shift the dynamics. This is a new pattern for many of us. Take 5 minutes today to reflect, not just on your teen's behavior, but on your behavior and on the environment you've created where you are being hard on them and yourself. So focus on what you can control, what are the heart of the home. Inner steadiness creates outer harmony. So who are they at their core? You know them better than anyone. You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, and you know their goodness. So I'm just going to quickly list out 20 coping skills for teenagers. I know this video is going to be very long, but just bear with me. Here are some great ideas, that I do with my children, and I'm encouraging you to do with yours. The first one is walking. Go for a walk in the evenings, short walks. The second one is take deep breath exercises. So sometimes when we're at the dining, or go to YouTube, sometimes we just stop whatever we're doing, and just take breathing exercises or meditation exercises where you're just doing nothing. You're listening to your own thoughts. The third one is exercising. I got a new treadmill in my house. It's the fastest way to help stabilize your mood. The fourth one is journaling. I talk about journaling a lot. I have a gratitude journal for children if you're interested. Journaling is an academic endeavor when it simply can be just jotting down the emotions you're experiencing. There are also good apps, like 3 Good Things. You can check it out, which can allow your teen to record 3 good things that happen each day so they can keep gratitude at the forefront of their mind. Number 5, cooking and baking. We do that a lot here. You should do that too. It's a great active way to keep your brain focused on something positive. Number 6 is creating art, whether it's painting, playing music, or even the simple act of coloring. I got coloring books. Let me show you that I'm going to be doing with my girls. I haven't bought the coloring pen yet. We're going to be doing that. Positive self-talk, affirmations, volunteering, simple times when you simply need perspective. Volunteering feels good, but it also provides insight into the positives of our lives. You also connect teenagers to something bigger than themselves or the problem. Number 8 or number 9, spending time in nature. Many teenagers don't understand the power of nature. I used to tell them, let's go outside and touch grass. So we have to strongly encourage them to partake in these activities. Personal connections. Today's world can be challenging for teenagers. They often feel the need to document their lives online, but feel embarrassed to share their feelings with someone. And that's why anytime my children come to me that they have a birthday party, or there's something that they have to do in person, I always look forward to it. If your teen is not opening up to you, try to encourage them or try to sign up to me. I'm a mentor. I talk to preteens and teens. Sometimes when they talk, it just relieves them of stress, and negative feelings. Technology boundaries is number 11. Number 10, it's never too late to encourage tech boundaries for your teenagers. Don't allow phones in your rooms, in your bedrooms. No, we don't do that in this house. We have a phone contract where all these are stated, so I don't have issues with this one, but these are some of the things that they can do. Promote good sleep habits. So remember when your teenager was a toddler and they threw a tantrum because they missed a nap? It's the same for teenagers. Encourage them to lie down, close their eyes for a few minutes. And most teenagers really have bad sleeping habits. Encourage them to take a short nap. It's very important. And do you take short naps? If you don't take short naps, it's going to be hard for them to take short naps. Another thing to do, number 12 or 13, is to address overstimulation. Overstimulation is a mental and emotional state that occurs when someone's senses are taking in more stimuli that their brain can process. So we are all suffering from information and entertainment overload, and we are glued to our cell phone. Push notifications often cause feelings of anxiety and overwhelm, and many teenagers are experiencing this. They don't leave any room for downtime with school activities, homework, part-time jobs. They're just going. So taking a hard, holistic view of our schedules and their schedule and scheduling downtime is a great coping tool for today's chaotic world. Number 14 will be take a warm shower. Make your teenager take showers. We always take showers in this house, morning and night. They say, I don't need to take it. I just go in there and let that water run through your body. Another one, number 15, is counting to 10. Yes, it seems so simple, but encourage your teenager that when they are upset, slowly count to 10 or higher, can lessen the emotions they are feeling by taking their mind off it. Number 16 is setting boundaries with toxic people. So some individuals are triggers that bring our negative emotions and the worst in us. So encourage your teenager to look out for that. Block or follow people who make them uncomfortable or cause them to feel bad about themselves. I do that too as an adult. Distance yourself from them. Block them, in fact, online and offline. Number 17 is take care of a pet. I don't have a pet, so if you have a pet, being a caretaker can be a great coping mechanism. Number 18 is reading or audiobooks. It's so sad that so many teenagers don't find reading a valid form of entertainment. Reading is one of the greatest relaxation tools. Get your teenager in a library, get them a library card, encourage them to find anything that they find interesting, and sometimes sit with them to know what they want. Get a hobby. Before phones, we used to do stuffs, like playing board games, build models, crafts. If your teen expresses interest in those kind of thing, or they want to learn a new skill, jump on it. Study after study tells us that people who have a hobby are happier and more satisfied in life. And then the last one, seeking professional help. Sometimes coping skills are just not enough to combat depression, anxiety, or other mental health issues. Seeking support can be a great way to help your teenager build a coping toolkit for when things are challenging. So I hope these 20 things that I've listed, can come in handy as you raise your preteens and teens, and help them cope with life's ups and downs. So I thought to share this with you. These are the things that we do. These are the things that I do with the children that I work with, online and offline. Tell me if you found this helpful. Like, share. I know this video is quite long, but bear with me. I just had to put it out. And I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.